But leaving that day, it was like, oh, I have made you into this monster that you could never possibly be. It's just the fact that I had to find a way to cope with why you weren't around. So I'll just make you as terrible as I can.
It couldn't be I'm avoiding this. I didn't want it to be I'm avoiding it because I'm too scared. And so I had the courage. It took me a long time and that's what I did. Let's go see. I wanted to have that similar experience to what you had with your dad. I don't think it'll ever fully go away. I don't think it'll ever fully be okay.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1723, an important thing to understand about time. Today, for episode number 1724, didn't title it because Alan and I are just freestyling it, but I'll title it and you'll see a title. So it's probably going to be something along the lines of, I don't know, what it was like growing up without a dad. My intention for this episode is not to make it sad and tearful and any of that, but we were talking about why we have the Next Level Hope Foundation and the inspiration behind that. And I was listening to a song recently, and you and I have been discussing this a lot. We've been discussing the internal stuff, the internal stuff, the business and the sales, like that's a part of it, but there's a lot of internal stuff underneath that affects the way all of that happens and the way you feel about yourself and your traumas and your triggers and all that stuff, your deepest exiles. So it's a song by Token, and it's called Pink. And one of the lyrics in the song is, I remember when you told me I never grew up with a dad that was a man. That's why I'm so quick to idolize the men I see. And you and I were talking about this recently, how sometimes it's hard to stick up, hold the energetic ground when you and I are talking with men. And that, when I heard that in that song, it was like, that resonates with me a ton. I think I don't know. I don't know if idolize is the right word, but I definitely look up to men more than I should. For sure. That don't necessarily deserve it. Way less than ever before because I never recognized it. But when I heard that lyric, it was like, that makes a lot of sense to me. That when you grow up with the scarcity of something, you look at it differently. I mean, think of it like this. Okay, you grew up without money.
Yeah,
you assume that money's going to fix all your problems. And that's what you're lacking.
Because it would fix a lot of them.
It would fix a lot of them.
But it won't fix all of them.
It will not fix all of them. It's if I had that, my life wouldn't look the way it looks. Mm-hmm. Fair. In many regards, it wouldn't. I think for me, and I'll speak for myself, and shout out to anybody out there who grew up without one, both, whatever your situation was of your parents. I think that's it for me is, well, if I can get close to this man, that'll prove whatever, that I was worthy, that I am capable. I can't even imagine having a close relationship with like a father figure. Like you and I have a really good relationship, but we're the same age. You're not a father figure. I mean, you've taught me many things in many ways. But that's always been really weird to me. And I think one of my deepest fears is disappointing men more than anything. I think that we were talking recently, maybe on here too, about how that's a huge fear for me. My deepest fear, my deepest exile is disappointing others. I think it's disappointing men more than anything else, honestly, because I think that's who I seek approval from in a different way. And I when I go on podcasts and there's women hosts, it's always phenomenal. It's amazing. But sometimes when I go on and there's men hosts, it can be this dance for me. And then sometimes there's a hangover after, an emotional hangover. So
Same.
It's an interesting thing to kind of sift through. So I thought, again, in the nature, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. In the direction of just talking about what we're experiencing and what is on our minds, I thought, I said to Alan, you want to do an episode on something like this? I know it's deep, but... And he said, yeah, let's do it. So here we are.
I have no idea where I want to go with it, though.
Same. I think it's really hard to, it's really easy to forget how many of your behaviors today and how many of your connections and the way you approach things are based on things that you just, not even you don't remember, you couldn't remember it because it wasn't one thing, it was a series of things that happened from one thing. And it's just, I think this is why awareness, I think this is why therapy, but this is why the inner work is so important. I said this to you today. I said, yeah, I saw someone I know is having a kid soon. And I said, I'm scared. I'm scared for the kid. Not because this person's a bad person. I don't mean it in that way. They just haven't done the work. They just haven't done the work. And they don't understand why certain pieces of them are the way they are because from their childhood something happened and they never had the opportunity, had the courage, felt the responsibility to look in the mirror. But that, now more than ever, it's like, all I am is a series, I'm a representation of all the things I've experienced, I've been through, I've seen, I've heard, I've felt, the very high highs, the very low lows, all the in-betweens, and then it's, okay, what stuff stuck long enough? The positive and the negative. And that's really my current thought process is the self-worth for sure, right? Feeling abandoned as a child, that can't be good for your self-worth. So that's always something that's been on my radar. I think the reason I doubt myself so much is that if you could go back to being a child and thinking, okay, my dad left because of me. Again, not logical. Obviously, I was a baby, right? I didn't know better. But now I'm just starting to connect dots. And I think if this episode can help someone else connect a dot, then it's worth doing.
These are the hard ones for me.
Understandably so.
You talk about success or...
Well, the situations are also drastically different, right? You and I have similar situations, but very different situations.
One thing that did come up for me, and I want to provide context, sometimes it's challenging on these microphones because we have listeners that have known us for years and then we have listeners that are new simultaneously. So but we have to cater to the new because we can't presuppose anyone's life circles around our story because it doesn't. So I'll catch everyone up for context because what I'm going to say isn't valuable without it, quite frankly. For the first, so the shortest possible version of this is after 26, I got in my own car accident. My father passed away in a car accident when he was 28. When I was 26, I got in my own car accident and I questioned everything. I was physically okay, but I had to question everything. And that's when I got into self-improvement rather than just achievement. Again, this is the shortest possible version. And I remember I called my ex-girlfriend, who I was with for 4.5 years, tail end of high school, early college. And I said, what did you notice about me that was a blind spot? What did you notice about me? Was there anything that jumps off the page? And she said, you never, ever, 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 ever talked about your dad. That's one thing. I was with you for 4.5 years. And back when you're younger, 4.5 years is a long time because relative to how old you are, that's a quarter of your life. So when I was in my early 20s, she was there with my 21st birthday, that kind of thing. And by there, I mean, she saw me the next day, massively hungover. But she said, you never, ever talked about your dad. And so the interesting thing now is I talk about my father. My real last name is McCorkle. I took my stepfather's name around 7, Lazaros. And then my stepfather left at 14, took his entire extended family with him. We didn't really talk to the McCorkles during that time. My timer's going off. We didn't really talk to the McCorkles during that 3 to 14 age because we were trying to be the Lazaroses. And then he took all his extended family with him, and I haven't seen a single one of them since, including him. And then my mom and her aunt got in a fight. Her sister, my aunt. Her sister, my aunt Sandy. And I got ostracized. We got ostracized kind of from her side of the family, not kind of, definitely. And I've only since seen one of them. And that was 7 years later. 8 years later, actually. And then at that same time, my sister moved out. So the McCorkles I don't see. The Lazarus left. The Higgins family, my mom's side, gone. And so by the time I'm 14, it's just me and my mom in that big house, low income, man of the house type of thing. And I unpacked all that in my 30s with my therapist. And what is the takeaway from that? Holy crap, talk about abandonment issues. I mean, Emilia and I have studied attachment styles a lot now, mostly her, but we do relationship talks coaching, and I study all these things now to try to coach effectively. And attachment styles, there's avoidant and there's anxious, and then there's secure. And in the developmental years, children need a secure attachment style. They need someone who they're certain will be there. Now, I've since analyzed Kevin's life upside down and sideways. I've analyzed mine. This is a public medium, so I'm not going to air any of his stuff out. But at the end of the day, I think your Mimo was your secure attachment style. I think my sister was mine. And I think that we both have a common wound.
Definitely.
Of abandonment.
Definitely.
But the way we reacted to that was very different. I aimed higher, work harder, get smarter, believe in myself more, maybe even to an extent that's insane, but it's still significance-based because we felt insignificant from the abandonment. How insignificant did I feel at 14 years old? I mean, I lost my entire stepdad's side of the family, my entire McCorkle side I haven't seen at all, and that's a big family. John, Jim, Joe, Jane, Joan, Jeanette. My father had 5 siblings. It's a big Irish Catholic family. I don't identify with Irish Catholic. I don't identify with any religion. I don't belong in any one of the categories. I never really have. You and I are at school. Everyone else has dads. We don't know what it's like. No one wants to talk about it because my dad died, so it gets weird whenever you talk about it. Not to mention I'm avoiding it anyway because I don't want to talk about it because it makes me sad, even in this moment. And so, where do you belong? And so what do you do? What do you do when you feel hopeless and helpless and lost and abandoned and insignificant? And so the only thing I ever knew to do was to just try to achieve more. Because it seemed to me like if you achieve more, you have more significance. And that's true. So that worked real well for a while until I realized that achievements were empty without love. And so now that's obvious. But back then, you figure when you're a young man, particularly, I'll just speak for us because we were born in the U.S., but like young men, the guys who got the girls back when we were young, when I was 14 and all that happened, the guys who got the girls back then were the athletes and the ones that were big and strong and competent, reckless, and capable, and reckless, very reckless, yeah. And so what do we do? You know, you find a way to be significant. And then after the car accident, I realized I was achievement-oriented and improvement-oriented and significance-oriented, but it wasn't self-improvement. It wasn't holistic. It wasn't personal development. It was career and professional development. And so then I flipped the script and turned it all the way to self-improvement, and then I went broke with Kev. And we went from really successful and significant to completely insignificant again, but fulfilled as hell, really, seriously, super fulfilled. Going, how do we play this game? Because if we don't become more successful, we can't keep doing this, right? And then so we started coaching for free, and then we did $50 a week, and then we did 75, and then we started company. Next Level Podcast Solutions, Next Level Social Media, business coaching. I went from fitness coaching to mindset coaching to peak performance coaching to life coaching to business consulting to all these different things.
Whatever
trying to
you
find
need.
out what do you got? Figuring out who we are. The one thing that never changed is coaching, but now it's business coaching. And so, yeah, it's been a hell of a journey, but it's very clear that we dealt with our pain differently.
I remember I told you this behind the scenes. I remember one of the things I would do when I was, I don't know, I think the first time I the first time I drank was like 16, I think. When I was like 16, 17, 18, 19, I used to get drunk if I was in a group of people and I would run away because I always wanted someone to chase me. That was always a thing. Like that's how I got significance. If I run away and you care enough about me, you'll follow me and make sure I'm okay. That was always a thing for me, and that was a significance-based thing. And I never knew that at the time. I was angry, and I remember I used to punch CD cases because they'd make my knuckles bleed more than anything. So I just used to hammer them, and I'd bleed all over the place. And it was like, this is cool. I don't know why I thought that was cool, but I was just very. I was very inwardly angry. I don't know if anybody would have thought I was an angry kid, because I wasn't. I didn't act out in school. I don't know if I had a temper. I didn't get into fights. I wasn't rebellious. I was very quiet for the most part. Right? But this is my ultimate thought for this episode. I wonder how many things that we, the collective humans, think to ourselves, that probably doesn't matter that much, or that probably didn't affect me that much, or that probably didn't matter that much, or that wasn't really that big of a deal, or I don't really have to take that super seriously. I wonder how many of our big, I don't want to say hang-ups, big things, I'll put it that way. How many of our big things that we're dealing with today are the stuff that we said, it's probably not that big of a deal. Because I never thought this was that big of a deal. I got used to it. I got used to it. I'm 10. Well, I don't know my dad, so okay, this is my life. Okay, I'm 12, I'm 15, I'm 18, I'm 21. Now I'm a young man. Now I have jobs, and I have partners, and now I have my own place. Oh, cool. Interesting. Okay, now I have my own place and someone lives with me. Okay, now I have my own place and I'm married and I have a little family. But that I can understand how you wake up and you're 45 years old and you have no idea what's under the surface.
Yeah.
That has gotten, it makes total, of course. I wouldn't know any of this if I didn't have a podcast about self-improvement. No way. And the best thing ever for me, and I'll tell this story quickly because I've told it before, but I had the opportunity to meet my dad when I was 27. And I didn't want to do it. It was the last thing in the world I wanted to do. When I read the message, I threw my phone on the floor and I fell on the floor. And I said, there's no way in hell I'm doing this. Not a chance. One of the reasons was because I had said so many terrible things about him because I never thought I was going to meet him. That was one thing, is I said so many negative things about this person. And the other thing was I was so afraid for that experience. I didn't know what to expect. There's not a lot of, who do you talk to about that? There's people, I'm sure, right? But I didn't want to do that. I did not want to do that at all. And that was one of the best things ever. Not because we formed a tight relationship. Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there. I don't know if I said this on the podcast or not, but this is who I am, so I will. The first time I met my dad in person, I'm getting ready to leave. And I think I was 27. I was 27. And he's like, hey, you smoke weed by any chance? I said, I love it. Huge fan. And he gave me a bushel of weed to take home. I have not seen this man. This is the first time with the understanding that this is my father that I'm seeing him. And he gave me a bushel of weed to take home. This is my life. But it was one of the best things ever to meet him because it gave me context of the person that has so much control, that you've given so much control to, doesn't deserve it, number one, and is not capable enough of handling it. That's what when I left lunch that day, it was like, okay. What does this all mean? Makes a lot of sense. Everything's starting to make a lot of sense. And just by seeing him, something unlocked. And something
definitely.
got reconnected, and it gave me a new perspective. And I think it's just the same. We did an episode recently, like sometimes the monster in the closet isn't a monster or something like that. It was kind of the same thing where I don't have love for this person. I don't love this person. I've never said I love you to my dad ever. I never will. I don't talk to my dad anymore. I won't say never, but I can't foresee it happening. But leaving that day, it was like, oh, I have made you into this monster that you could never possibly be. It's just the fact that I had to find a way to cope with why you weren't around. So I'll just make you as terrible as I can.
Yeah.
And I want to be empathetic, and I want to be understanding. And look, you have your own stuff. And I am more of a man than you are. I'm a much more well-developed man than you are. And I will reap the benefits of that. And you will most likely, unfortunately, go back to a life that you don't enjoy. But I at least got to experience what it was like and what the lessons were for me. And hopefully he got to experience what the lessons were for him too. That's all I can hope for. But that was one of the best things I've ever done, ever of all time. I'm not telling you if you had an absentee parent that you should go see him. I'm not saying that. But I do think, especially if there was abuses or whatever it is. I didn't experience that. I experienced absenteeism. That was one of the best things ever of all time for me. And I can't suggest that enough if you feel pulled to it and you know it would be the right thing, but you're scared, that might be a sign, is all I'll say.
I did reach out to my stepfather. We have been in contact via Facebook Messenger, but I've never seen him since 14. And I just needed to face whatever it was. And I asked to get lunch, and he hasn't gotten back to me. And that's okay. I'm not just saying that's okay because it's not okay. As long as I did it couldn't be I'm avoiding this.
Yes.
I didn't want it to be I'm avoiding it because I'm too scared. And so I had the courage. It took me a long time and that's what I did. Let's go see. I wanted to have that similar experience to what you had with your dad. I don't think it'll ever fully go away. I don't think it'll ever fully be okay. But I would say I'm grateful for what I did with it. And for everyone out there listening, it's hard for me to share things when I'm emotional, but it drove me.
Same.
It drove me. It always will, and it always has. And I don't know if there's another way to make I know I playfully say, life sucks. I actually think that for a lot of people, that's true. And I think that despite that, you can make a meaningful life. And I'll never not think that. I think that this whole, things are going to work out and life's really good and we all can achieve our dreams and all that stuff. I don't know if that's true. It's not. I think it's inaccurate. I think life, it sucks less than it used to in history. I think statistically speaking, most of us have a higher quality of life than most people did in the past. But if you study history, it was really brutal. It was really brutal. It was really rough. And that doesn't mean it's not good too. There was lots of wonderful things mixed in with all the bad. I understand that. But I think if you're too far on the life is great, you're delusional. And I think if you're too far on all of life is terrible, you're delusional. It's not true. Wonderful things happen every single day and bad things happen every single day. And the only thing that I've ever learned how to do, there's certain things where I can intellectualize all day. I can teach you physics. None of that's going to matter in this. What matters in this is, listen, are you in pain? You hurting? You feeling it? What are you going to do about it? You're going to let it drive you to be better and to do better, or you're going to let it beat you. And that there's no other option.
Well, and be better and do better means something different to everyone. Maybe it's having the courage to go to a therapist. Maybe it's, it's something different for everyone, I think. But I agree. I don't know. I don't know why. You and I have been talking about this for 7 years. I don't know why some pain makes people and some pain breaks people. I don't know. I do not know if I'll ever have a relevant answer for. But I
think it's
do agree.
self-belief.
I think it's a piece of it.
I think it's self-belief.
It's a big piece of it.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Kev. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
People you don't invest in companies you don't think are going to grow. You don't invest in houses you don't think are going to be worth more. You don't invest in a car that you don't value. It's self-worth and self-belief. We found the answer. We know the answer.
That just seems too simple.
If you have low self-belief and low self-worth, you'll take every escape. And I had low self-worth, but I had enough self-belief to invest in my own future. When things got really hard and really painful, I still had self-belief. I still believed in that bigger, better, brighter future. But I didn't necessarily understand self-worth whatsoever. So that's only a later thing. But if you're out there and you're in pain and you're struggle bussing, I don't know. That's the one thing I'll never lose. I'll never lose. I joked with Kev. I said, you didn't have a silver spoon. Yours was rusty. A rusty spoon. I heard this on a book once. It was hilarious. He's like, you know those people that start off life on third base? I couldn't even see the baseball field. There's something about that I have a lot of reverence for. I don't think you can teach that. I'll never not have that. I'll never not have that. I'm grateful of what I'm not grateful I got abandoned. I'm not grateful I lost 3 families by the time I'm 14. I'm not grateful for a lot of the stuff. No. But I am grateful for what I did with it.
Yeah. It's so hard. It's such a hard thing to experience. And like, one of the things I try to do, and again, don't take this as a lesson for that deep, real stuff, but I try to think to myself, when this is over, it'll be easier when it's over. I try to do that often. Now, again, that kind of directly contradicts what I said about things sticking around for a long period of time. But when I'm suffering, I try to think to myself, like, yeah, it's only today. Like, tomorrow's a different day. Tomorrow's a new day. And it works in minutes and moments. Obviously, it's not going to work with stuff that we talked about today. But that's helped me a lot when I just think... I went to a party on Saturday, and I tore it up. And I very rarely... I'll have a whiskey every once in a while, but I do not very often get drunk, what I would consider drunk. And I was not feeling it Sunday. I was not feeling good. But I was like, Kev, you're going to be fine in 12 hours. You're going to be fine. Just understand that you did this, and this is your own freaking fault, so just deal with it. And just understand that I guess connecting to yesterday's episode, time's going to help this. Now, it's not going to help everything, so please do not connect everything that I'm...
Not if you do it again as soon as the hangover's gone.
Well, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Been
and
there.
Trust me, I won't. Last thing before we go, if you are a good person and you're trying to do good in the world, whatever that means to you, and you're working on yourself, and you're working on your self-belief, and you're working on your self-worth, and you want to help other people, and you want to lift other people up, and you value other people, and you're a kind soul, and you have a big heart, keep doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing the work. It's going to suck probably. Yes, there's going to be times where it's brutal. But that's kind of par for the course. You don't get to decide what happens to you. You can't decide what you do with it. And unfortunately, sometimes that's getting through it, getting over it, getting around it, getting out from underneath of it is harder than it happening in the first place, unfortunately.
There's a book called Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. And I can't recommend that book because I haven't read it thoroughly enough to where I can honestly recommend it. So please don't tie me to that book. I like to thoroughly read a book before I recommend it. And I also like to understand the author too. At least to the best extent I can, right? But I do like the concept. Apparently in the English language, there is no antithesis to the word fragile. And fragile means easily breakable. And so anti-fragile is a concept that I think is really powerful, regardless of whether English is your first language or any of that stuff. Anti-fragile is the idea that the more you try to tear something down, the more you try to attack something, the stronger it gets. And I've tried really hard in my life before I even learned that book or that concept. I tried really hard to, no matter how much I was torn down, no matter how much I was abandoned, no matter how much I was hurt, no matter how many people attacked me, I've tried really hard to get stronger and smarter and become better through all of it. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean I didn't make so many mistakes. It's not even funny, but I would say that I always found a way to get stronger, smarter, and be better. And with obvious ups and downs, but the trend line is up. And I think that if you can say that, all of you out there listening or watching this, if people are trying to tear you down, if you're being disrespected and treated poorly, there's a lot of injustice in the world. I think that you can use that. You can use that as fire. I'm a Scorpio, and a lot of people think and believe in all that. I don't know. I haven't studied that enough, but I do know that I have a fire. They say, well, you're a fire sign, so you're very intense. I don't know. I'm not going to go down the Scorpio rabbit hole. But what I will say is I've got a fire, and that fire never goes out. I mean, it is if anything, I dial it down. Very rarely do I show the whole amount of fire. It's burning, and it's burning bright, and it believe it or not, being torn down actually puts more logs on it. And it helps me try to create a company and a community with you, Kev, that actually is the opposite of bullies, the opposite of not taking responsibility, the opposite of unjust and mistreating of people. So it's not a coincidence. Kevin and I we created a holistic self-improvement company of heart-driven individuals with candor about the realities of the world. That's because that's what we needed. That's exactly what we needed. And
yes, same town, same middle school, same elementary school, same middle school, same high school. Alan and I played spin the bottle with Alan and the Popular Girls in like 4th grade or whatever, 6th grade. So we've known each other for a minute, and it hasn't always been this. Trust me. I wanted to put him down a couple times. All right.
Sure.
Next Level Nation, if you are interested in supporting the Next Level Hope Foundation, our wonderful charity for children of single parents, it started out for fathers without dads, as you can tell from
boys without
boys without fathers, fathers without dads. Those boys,
fathers without grandfathers, without
those boys
grandfathers
could be fathers sans dads in the future potentially. We'll see what happens, but it's obviously a cause that's near and dear to our heart because we want to help everybody level up. And it was a challenging challenging day for Alan and I. We used to go fishing together on Father's Day. We go fishing on the
good times.
Big pond, small lake that Alan grew up on. So it is the 15th. It is June 15th. It's the day before Father's Day. And if you are interested in donating, Alan and I are matching $600. We already put in our $600. We'll have the GoFundMe link in the show notes. We're going to get food. We're going to get snacks. We're going to get all sorts of stuff. We ordered shirts today. We have Beanie Babies. We're renting out the YMCA, arts and crafts, pizza, all that happy jazz. So if you want to take part in that and support us, we would very much appreciate it. We'll have the link in the show notes.
This is a duality because I believe so much in choice and freedom, and just I want you to do what's aligned for you. But I encourage everyone to please not put anonymous. It means a lot to us when a community member contributes, and I really love to know who's contributing because I think it's really awesome. I agree. I think it's a great thing, and so please put your name.
And we know that's not why you're doing it. You're not doing it.
Yeah, we know that's not why you're doing it. Exactly.
So don't feel like that's it.
But I think it's meaningful to see your contributions, and I just love to see them. So thank you so much in advance. And it's making a difference. It's good, and we hope to be there for these kids in a way that we didn't have. Father's Day always sucked. I always hated Father's Day. I wasn't a fan. Never. Even when my stepdad was around, I wasn't a fan. I don't think he ever wanted kids, to be honest. And so, now it's become awesome.
I never even knew when it was.
Same, man. Everyone knew
when it was if it wasn't for Next Level Hope Foundation. So
I still kind of don't until
Yeah,
if it wasn't for
comes,
that too.
It comes up quick. It comes
Yeah,
up
it
quick.
does.
I got to come up with a new outro because we're not plugging the next episode, so I don't know what it is. I'll come up with that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Make sure your pain makes you stronger and smarter. Next Level Nation.